Dr. Richa Mittal with Radiant Health. I today wanted to show you a quick recipe that could be an easy weekday meal or a quick meal to put together. And I'm going to be preparing it here in front of you. I do have a few things that are cooking already. I have Gardein classic meatless meatballs in a Victoria red sauce sitting on the pot. I have that on low heat and that's going to cook for a little bit while I get my pan ready. So if you ever cook with stainless steel, just a quick tip, it's a good idea to warm it on low heat first so that the food doesn't stick. And once it's warmed, then you can add your oil. I'm going to be using extra virgin olive oil. You may have heard that olive oil is good for cooking at low temperatures, up to 375 degrees. If you're going to be doing any cooking above that, you want to be using something that's more heat stable, like avocado oil. So today I'm going to be preparing a quick zucchini noodle marinara meatball meal, and for that we're going to use some mushrooms and some onions. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting my onion, and I'm going to go ahead and add some extra virgin olive oil to the pan. And I eyeball it, but it was about 1.5 tablespoons. And we're gonna let that, I have it on extremely low heat right now, so we're just gonna let that get warmed up. I'm gonna cut half a medium-sized onion. It's up to you if you wanna use kind of larger pieces versus if you don't like to necessarily feel the onion, then you can make smaller pieces. I'm gonna go with a medium mince. And so that's what the onion looks like at this point. So we're gonna go ahead and add that in to the oil. I'm gonna give that a little stir. And in order to get the onions cooked soft, that's my husband in the background. Vinay, you can wait, you're in the video. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cover this up and for about a minute or so. And I'm gonna go ahead and prepare my mushrooms. I did rinse them off. These are baby bellas. And I kind of like to feel the texture, ooh, I just burnt myself there, of the mushrooms. So I'm just gonna cut them in half. I love the flavor of caramelized onion with mushroom. I think it adds a lot of flavor to the food. Mushrooms are a great food to include in your diet. They're actually high in vitamin D, which most of us these days are deficient on vitamin D. We probably spend way too much time indoors, so that's another tip. Try to spend about 10 to 15 minutes outside in the sun every day. We're very cognizant of the needs to wear sunscreen to protect our skin from skin cancer, which is very important as well. But we definitely don't get enough sun, so keep that in mind. Of course, that's a tangent, has nothing to do with what we're making today. So I'm gonna go ahead and check on my onions. They're not sticking. I'm cooking, like I said, on very low heat. I don't know if you've looked into your cookware at all. A lot of times people have been aware of the fact that a lot of non-stick cookware has different toxins that are released from the lining in the pan. So a few years ago, I switched to stainless steel. Like I said, the biggest trick with stainless steel is you wanna cook at very low heat. That's where it can be frustrating in the beginning because you might be used to cooking on high heat, in which case your food sticks. So I have my onions going here, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat up just a little to about low-high, and I'm gonna add my onions. All right, I'm gonna give that a stir. So that already has a pretty good flavor. I sometimes will use fresh basil. I'm gonna go ahead and garnish with fresh basil at the end. So if you cook with fresh basil, a lot of times you lose the flavor. This is a dry basil, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of that. I'm also gonna add some dry oregano leaves. And as you can see, this meal can be made with mostly things that you have laying around in your kitchen. Whoops, I'm gonna mix that up. And I'm gonna go ahead and cover it for about another 2 or 3 minutes. So the noodles that I'm using today are these CC's Veggie Company spiralized noodles. You can also spiralize your own noodles. People do so in their food processor. I'm a little bit of a shortcuts person, so if I'm able to find something that is reasonably available and not too expensive, then I might use that. So you can spiralize your own zucchini noodles if you'd like. I got these today at Sprouts Market. They're sold in a lot of different stores. So I'm just gonna check on this. All right, that's coming along. I do want the onions to brown a little bit, so I'm gonna go to medium-low heat and checking on my meatballs. Now these meatballs are a processed soy product, and being vegetarian, I try to get my protein sources from a lot of different places, and these are just one option if you were trying to avoid kind of a more processed protein, although these are I think a pretty good option for occasional use. You can also just use a pesto in your recipe, so you could do like a pumpkin seed basil, or you could put nuts in it and just make a quick pesto and add that to your food. That's a good way of amplifying it with some protein and some healthy monounsaturated fats. Other options are sometimes I'll add chickpeas at the end, boiled chickpeas. Either you can do that yourself or you can get canned, or a lot of times I buy the beans that are in, or chickpeas that are in Tetra Packs, because they don't have the exposure to BPA that a lot of the canned goods would have. So those are some ideas. You can of course also use real meatballs. So this is starting to sizzle a little more, and the onions are starting to get brown. So basically you're gonna get that caramelization when it starts becoming a little bit brown. I'm gonna just bring this a little closer so you can see what it looks like currently. Yum. And this probably makes enough for 2 people. I would say if you're, cooking for 4 adults, then you may want to double it. So really there's just a little bit of standing around right now. You could also be, preparing something else on the side. I do have some cucumbers and tomatoes that we're going to be eating on the side here in a moment. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my zucchini noodles. Now, the key on zucchini noodles is you don't want to overcook them. They get very mushy and then they're not in a noodle-like consistency. If you're not a big fan of zucchini noodles, another type of low-carb noodle that I found is shirataki. Those do tend to be a little bit more spongy in texture. Healthy noodles, which are similar to Miracle noodles, are actually made with something called konjac root fiber. And those are a really good noodle. They're very high in fiber, so they have a low net carbs to them. And I do enjoy using those. You can cook them Asian style or Italian style. But today I decided to use zucchini noodles. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in. All right, and I'll show you what that looks like. So there we are right now. I'm going to mix that up. Prior to mixing it, I'm going to add some sea salt. And I like it a little spicy, so I add black pepper. You could also do red chili flakes, whatever you have laying around. mix that up. Now the zucchini noodles need about 2 to 4 minutes. Just gonna tell my kids something. Can you guys please stop making so much noise?
I'm trying.
Thank you. So, here's what that looks like now. I'm gonna cover this up and let it cook for about 2 more minutes. I'm gonna show you what those meatballs look like now in their sauce. And basically to test these as to whether they're done, they're already pre-cooked. You just want them to be soft and well heated through. I'm gonna turn that off. This is another tip on when you select marinara. So, you know, tomatoes are a great healthy food to include in your diet. Cooked, they release lycopene, which is a powerful antioxidant. But a lot of the ready-made sauces do tend to have sugar, so always read the food label. You know, they'll disguise it typically as organic cane sugar. Well, it's still sugar. So you want to try to buy the sauces that do not have added sugars. Or, of course, you could make your own. Again, because I like to do shortcuts when I can. I buy a couple different brands that I've found. This is called Victoria. It doesn't have any added sugar. It has extra virgin olive oil, tomatoes, and spices, so it's pretty straightforward. Other brands that I've found are, gosh, the name is slipping at me right now. I'm gonna go ahead and post about that a little later. But there's, oh yeah, it's Metsetta. That's a really great one that doesn't have added sugar. So I'm gonna stir this up and just take a look at it here. And that looks yummy. So then the zucchini noodles are cooking through. They're still kind of firm, which is how I prefer it. If you wanted to continue cooking it, you could, but then you're gonna run into them getting a little bit mushy. So I'm gonna add the sauce with the meatballs into my zucchini mushroom mix here. This looks really delicious. Just gonna show that to you. So that was pretty straightforward. It was about 12 minutes that this meal took. Granted, I know I had some shortcuts, so you know, if you were making the meatballs from scratch, then obviously this meal would take longer, but otherwise it was pretty fast. It's gonna give me a lot of fiber. It's gonna give me protein. The olive oil adds some monounsaturated fats. So this is very consistent with what would be eaten on a low-carb Mediterranean diet type of approach. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have questions, you can comment after this video is done, or you can also contact me via social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Radiant Health Dallas. And my website with other recipes is radianthealthdallas.com. Thank you for watching.